This is John Paul Rai. I'm coming to you from Tokyo, Japan, and as you guys probably have heard, a pretty new case, if you could call it that, has broken out where Evan Rachel Wood, if I'm saying that right, she's got 3 names, so if I mix them up, excuse me, has accused Marilyn Manson of pretty serious abuse, and she explains it in graphic detail if you've watched her confession. Now I want to plant a little red flag in this video, meaning keep in mind I'm 50-50 here. Her confession is a lot more heartfelt and easier to take at face value than Amber Heard's, which is pretty fake and terrible, and she's eating cookies and throwing little fits. So there is that. But I'm going to take the side right now of defending Marilyn Manson and things people could assume about him. But again, this is not a prediction that she's lying, but I want to take each piece of this one at a time. So what I'm going to say now is this. I grew up in the 90s, and in the 90s we had what we call goth kids. Black nails, black lipstick, kind of spiked hair, they wore the black, and people thought they were violent and bad kids and blamed them for things. But the truth was they were just kind of weird for the most part. Did some of them, once in a while, get into some, violent stuff? Sure, but I think every group of people does. People who play sports, at some point, a very small portion of them, football players, basketball players, probably get violent, kick people's asses because they're tough. People in the military probably at some point take advantage and, in every single group in life, you're going to have the bad apples. So my point is, these people, for the most part, get blamed for their look and, just the way people think they are in their head. And that's exactly what Marilyn Manson is saying here. We also have a case, I'm pretty sure it's called the Memphis 3, where there was a murder in the woods, and the 3 people that got blamed, apparently there wasn't actual hardcore evidence against them, and they're locked up for life. It's an ongoing case that's been in the media for a while, and their theory is, the same as Marilyn Manson's theory here, is that, they were weird, wearing black, and people didn't understand them, so, they got convicted. And he says, "Obviously, my art and my life have long been magnets for controversy, but these recent claims about me are horrible distortions of reality. My intimate relationships have always been entirely consensual with like-minded partners, regardless of how and why others are choosing to misrepresent the past. That is the truth." So consent is a strong word here. I think it's going to be a real key word if this actually ever goes to court or there's ever actually a serious conversation between these two or lawyers or something like that. And let's say something did happen between them like she describes, but maybe it was kinky. It was consent. She said, okay, do this to me. After all, she's young. He's this, pretty much cult rock star at the time, and maybe she let him do it. So it's really, really hard to say now, years later, whether there was consent for it or not. Because, which I'll get into in this channel, a lot of the articles she wrote about him, I think mostly all of them, were positive. She was into him. They had great times together. At one point she said, I lived 4 lifetimes in the one that I was with Marilyn Manson, or something, really good like that. So I don't believe he forced her to write those, or I don't believe that, he threatened her so bad she felt like she had to write these great things about him. She probably wrote those. They probably had a good relationship. Now, were there dark things going on that she didn't like about the relationship that went too far? There could be. I went over Jeannie Larson's opinion on this, and she wrote the Remove Amber Heard from Aquaman 2 petition, and she says the same thing. Marilyn Manson could be found out to be the abuser. He could be a sick guy like his art and his music says. However, like I said before, it could have been out of consent. Maybe she was in awe with him. And when you get with a guy like Marilyn Manson, you kind of know what you're getting into. He's very upfront on the surface, at least, that he is not like this normal guy who's going to be like, let's have a few glasses of wine and make love. That's probably not what's going to happen when you get with Marilyn Manson. I think, you know, there was probably some expectation of weird stuff that would go on. And if you look at his Instagram here, I will admit there's some, you know, crazy weird stuff here. You know, at face value, yeah, it's, someone said creepy. But like I said, I'll keep going back. Like I said, this is his business. This is what he does to get fans. This is what he does to make a living. So he can't flip-flop. The guy's name's Brian. So he's not going to wear a suit and tie and one day act sophisticated and tell you how he feels about global warming and buying a puppy and then go back to doing this. He's going to live his life like this. Or else his game's up and he'll lose fans because they'll see that, you know, real serious side of him. They'll be like, well, this isn't like the, you know, crazy guy I wanted to follow who's going to give me all these shocks. They'll see Brian, the guy who buys salad and orders a fish fillet at McDonald's once in a while with a Sprite. And that's not exactly what's going to help his business. So if you get my drift, he's got to live this performance. And when doing that, it's going to obviously pin some, you know, accusations on you that you are the real deal weirdo and abuser and things like that. So yeah, I mean, stuff like this doesn't bode well. Like I said, there's more. There's things he says in his album that were pretty sick that was supposedly written about her. He calls himself an abusive piece of shit, which doesn't look so good. You know, you could throw around words though, and they have all different meanings. Some from, you know, actually meaning it to just calling yourself that. However, like I said, because as you guys can obviously tell, I'm pretty torn right now. And I personally think it's a catch-22, and there's almost no way to solve this problem in immediate sight. On one hand, if you lock him up based on someone's word alone, you could be putting an innocent man in prison for a very long time and ruining their life. And I would argue that's as bad as abuse, if not worse in a way, because with abuse you still go on and live your life. If you're in jail, well, you get abused in the same way you abuse someone, plus you lose your life. Now on the other side, you can't abuse people. It does ruin her life in certain ways. I'm sure. She'll always live with that memory, and it's a terrible thing to carry with you. And that can't be let go either. But what do you do? Which side do you pick? If you're sitting there, if you're a jury, you're a judge, you listen to both sides, they both make a compelling case, and that's it. So, you know, without photos, audio tape, maybe witnesses outside of your, like, close friend group, things like that, well, it's really tough. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think down below. I'll be watching the story and making up my mind as more info comes out. If you're not subscribed here, consider it. Click that subscribe button. It's red. It's right there. It's free. And if you don't subscribe, I'll be sad, but I'll get over it. See you next time.